tempo. They play with passion. They play with energy. It's fun to watch them play. So congratulations to those guys.
Questions for California student athletes Jordan Matthews and Sam Singer? Any questions for student athletes?
Yeah, how frustrating was it just the build up to this game with all the injuries and adversity and distractions and everything? How tough was it just to play in this game?
Sam?
I don't think it was frustrating at all. We kind of moved past that as the week went on, and we were solely focused on this game. And so, we didn't let it distract us, and, unfortunately, we couldn't come out with a win.
Yeah, Jeff Ferrato, Oakland Tribune. If you were asked this already, Cuonzo, I apologize. When did you guys find out Jabari wouldn't be able to play? And what kind of impact did that have, given the fact that you already didn't have Tyrone?
Well, I found out, 2 minutes, I guess a minute and a half, 2 minutes before the tip, because he's obviously in the starting lineup. And then he went back to the training room again and said he had back spasms and he couldn't go. So we obviously made the adjustment with Jordan, and that was it. He couldn't go. Well, of course it impacts you. Guys probably in the last 10 games shooting almost 55% from the three-point line, so he stretches your defense. So he's now on the floor. You can collapse a little bit more. And I thought Roger and Domingo did an admirable job for not playing a lot of minutes. But when you lose a guy that shoots the way he shoots it, changes the game for you. I mean, one thing to have Tyrone, but we expected that, because he was injured. But 2 minutes before game start time, it's tough. But you still have enough to win the game, so there's no excuses.
Cuonzo, did he feel anything when he woke up this morning, or was it just totally during the warm-ups that his back's tightened up?
Well, what I got at the halftime of the game, he felt a little stiff at the shoot-around. Felt something at the shoot-around practice yesterday. But, he's okay. Then I guess when he woke up this morning, then nobody ever said anything to me about it, because I guess it was enough where he felt like he could play. But then, again, 2 minutes before the tip, he just said he couldn't go. Yeah.
If we have no more questions for student athletes, we'll let these two gentlemen go.
Jordan, could you address just how disappointing the end of this season is, considering what you guys achieved this year and what your expectations must have been?
It's always disappointing to lose, but it doesn't take away from a great season. 23 wins. Grew a lot with these guys. So, of course you're disappointed, but, you win ball games, you lose ball games. Well, life goes on, and we had a great season.
Brian McInnes, Honolulu Star-Advertiser. Jordan, I was wondering your thoughts on Hawaii's backcourt play, Bobbitt and Smith, and what it was like to guard them today.
Yeah, they're both really good players, him, Smith, and the other guy, what's his name, 32. They're pretty good. They're really good players. Bobbitt hit some tough shots. The 1 foot leaner, that's a tough shot to guard. And Smith hit a couple off the glass late in the second half that hurt us. So they have a really good veteran backcourt.
Sam, could you talk about the early part of the game? You knew you were going to play point guard for Tyrone, but then you got in some foul trouble, and it just seemed like your team really never got a rhythm early in the game. How much did that set you back?
I definitely set us back, but you got to credit them. They had a good game plan, and they really pressured us and got us out of things we wanted to do. So I thought Brandon did a great job coming in and running the offense and facilitating. So, it was hard to get in a rhythm, but me being in foul trouble shouldn't have held us up.
Sam, with Jalen getting in foul trouble so early and then really never got in any kind of rhythm, how much did that affect the game in terms of you guys establishing your offense?
Definitely affects us. You got to guard him. He's averaged, whatever he averaged, 15 points a game this year. And so every time he's on the floor, his presence alone just forces the defense to guard him. So not having him out there allowed him to collapse a little bit more on Ivan and made it tough on our bigs. And they forced us to hit outside shots.
Cuonzo, can you address what's been going on, you think, with Jalen the last 5 games? Seems like he's lost all of confidence and rhythm and flow and not shooting the ball well and even lost some aggressiveness.
I can't answer that specifically. He would only be able to answer that. I just, I think he struggled somewhat and then started thinking about it. And I think for him as a young guy, it's very hard to play the game the way he plays it when you're getting 2 and 3 offensive fouls and charges in a game. It's hard to have an aggressive rhythm to you. So it's just unfortunate. I think that's the biggest key, the biggest contributor. So now all of a sudden he's thinking about it, and then teams letting him shoot the jump shot because if you defend him, you rather have him shoot on the perimeter as opposed to driving the ball. So if his shot doesn't fall, then now you're a little hesitant to drive the ball because of the way the game's officiated. So, but he'll be fine. I think that was just the toughest part. It's hard when you're probably averaging 2 or 3 offensive charges a game. It's hard to get in the real flow.
Cuonzo, are you surprised that this game was called with such a tight whistle? I mean, you played in the tournament, and a lot of times they let a little more physical play go, but this game was called really tightly tonight.
Well, not necessarily surprised because the key is you're supposed to officiate the game the way you officiate all season long. So not necessarily surprised. And those are legitimate referees out there, so that has nothing to do with the outcome, in my opinion, of the game. I mean, Hawaii won the game.
Before we continue with questions for Coach, we'll go ahead and dismiss Jordan and Sam. Thank you, guys.
Coach Wes Nakama, WarriorInsider.com here. You guys made a nice run there midway through the second half. I think it was you get down 10, then you came back with a 9-2 run. I think it was 47-46 with 12 minutes left, a lot of time. Do you think that was a momentum turner right there where you had the chance to seize the lead and get the momentum forward, and then they weathered the storm?
We turned the ball over, but that's what good teams do, veteran teams. I mean, strong backcourt, experienced guys. They find ways to win the game, maintain their composure. They made plays. I think we were down 1, and we turned the ball over, and the game changed from there.
Cuonzo, how difficult has this week been for you and your team and your coaching staff, given all the different factors that have come up? And does it leave the future cloudy for, you don't know about a couple of your freshmen, whether they'll be back, your own situation? How do you look forward from here at this point with any clarity?
Well, for me, I'm fine. My situation will be what I determine it'll be, so I'm fine. But as far as our team's fine. I mean, if you're talking about Ivan and Jalen, I mean, there's plenty of time to talk about that whenever they decide to do what they want to do. But I just think what happens when you have a level of momentum, you're going into something and you hit a bump in the road, and then with the situation that took place, one of our coaches, then all of a sudden, Tyrone goes down, then your Jabari Bird. I mean, it's tough for young guys to overcome, but for us as a staff, as men, this is life. And like Jordan said, you deal with these things all the time. I'd rather them deal with them now than, 15, 20 years down the road. So it's part of it. It's no big deal. I mean, you still have to lace them up, play the game. I mean, I think Hawaii won the game tonight. I mean, obviously a lot of factors you can say this or that, but they won the game.
I think this is the 5th Pac-12 team to lose so far in the tournament. Has this kind of surprised you how the conference has done so far?
No, I just think, outside of maybe 1 and 16, I mean, this is basketball. It's neutral site. Teams play ball games. Everybody practice, they prepare, they perform. So I don't really get caught up in who beat who. I mean, it's a big-time basketball, stage atmosphere, the adrenaline, people make plays, stuff happens. No, not at all. I was only concerned with our team and how we lost the game. But other than that, everybody prepares the same.
Cuonzo, given where you guys were at the start of the season, the expectations, do you feel like this is an opportunity lost because, like you alluded to, that there could be some personnel changes going forward? Are you going to lament that this was something that you guys couldn't turn into something bigger?
Personnel changes? I'm not sure what you mean there, but you meaning players? Right. Well, you always recruit. I mean, I like the guys we have returning. Obviously, you want to add pieces, but you always recruit. That's part of your job as a coach. Then you just kind of move from there. You just got to plug the right pieces in and make the right decision. But again, it's hard to. Well, Roger, Steven Domingo, Brandon Chalk, who hadn't played a lot, and all of a sudden you're playing a lot of minutes against an experienced team. That's not an easy thing to do. I don't think it takes away from their ability to play the game. I think it has more to do with just not having the reps under their belt.
Any more questions for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
So after introductions, we'll do the opening statement thing and then jump right in. Congratulations. Quick reminder to raise your hand if you have questions. We'll get a microphone holder to you. We'll begin with a brief opening statement from Coach. Then we'll try to exhaust questions to student athletes and dismiss them, and then return to Coach. Coach?
What a moment. And a year of moments. These guys just find a way to provide us with more. And when I say us, that's our locker room, our administration who's here, athletic department, the University of Hawaii, the great school we represent, the great state. I see our commissioner for the Big West here, Dennis Farrell, and the great conference we represent. So just an honor. Obviously, we knew this game was going to be tough and gritty, and just very proud of our team's defensive effort, particularly staying away from, at least in the second half, not as many, getting them off the free throw line. But their grit and their belief, we hung in there on critical points when they cut it to 2. And that's what this group has done. And again, another game, we got to get better at this, of guys getting in foul trouble and us having to overcome a certain adversity within the game. But the sick thing about it is we now have a lot of experience with it. And because of that, we're enjoying a really good moment now, which, like I always say, you get to enjoy for a second, get ready for the next one. But just really proud of this group.
Questions for Stefan Jankovic and Quincy Smith?
Quincy, were you guys expecting to have a crowd as large as you had tonight, and what was it like, playing behind a crowd like that so far away from home?
I think so. Hawaii fans, they travel really well, and it's great. They bring a lot of energy. They get the chants going. They call our names and pump us up, and it was fun.
Stefan, you had to sit for 13 minutes of that second half. What was that process like, and what were you seeing from the bench from your teammates?
Obviously, it's tough. Foul trouble is always has been a problem for me, and kind of picking up my 4th foul that early in the second half, and it's tough sitting down and kind of losing the groove. But I'm confident in the guys. My little brother Steph Jovanovic, he came in and he stepped up, and all the guys. Q, huge game. Rod and Q really led us through, and I'm never worried really. Obviously, as a competitor, I hate sitting on the bench, but aside from that, I was never worried. I was always confident in the guys.
Stefan, it seemed late there in the second half. You were kind of trying to get your bench to calm down, maybe not celebrate too early. Was it important for you to keep your guys focused?
Yeah, that was partly because the refs gave us probably 15 warnings. They said 2, but they gave us quite a couple. And Hawaii 5-0, our bench mob, they're wild. They really give us good bench support, and the refs kind of told us to sit down. I didn't want any technicals or those cheap little points here and there. So, and we were poised for the most part, so I wasn't worried. It was just not picking up a little technical there.
You guys obviously know who you're playing against in Cal, and were you aware at all? So you know who the guys are on their side, a lot of big names over there. Were you aware at all of the problems they've been having throughout this week and then entering this game? Was that something that were you cognizant of it all?
Quincy?
We heard a little bit about it on ESPN, but they still got really good players, good coaches. That's a good program. So we was just coming out. We wanted to be aggressive from the start. And try to get on them early, and set that, that standard, that momentum from the start. And I think we did a good job of that.
How do you balance the excitement with the win today and preparation for the next game?
Stefan?
Well, right now, we're on our high horse. We've celebrated in the locker room, but we're going to see who we're playing next right now. I think this next game is going to be our next game, so we're just going to today kind of focus on this win a little bit and enjoy it, but then again, it's a quick turnaround. So once we see who we're playing, I'm sure the coaches will get us in some film, and I'm hungry, so I just want to get some food, honestly.
This is for Coach. I know how much you believe in tradition, guys like Riley Wallace and guys that came before you. This is the first NCAA win for Hawaii. What does it mean to you and as a coach to be able to bring that first NCAA win to the University of Hawaii?
Well, I mean, it's special. I mean, I said when I got hired that this was the honor of my life to represent a program I'd been to before and studied the history of the program. And when I first got the job, these guys will tell you our first meeting was talking about the history of our program. Because to build for the future, you got to honor your past. And to honor your past, you got to know your past. And so they got a history lesson, and now they know it as well as anybody. And these guys want to continue. You know, our job, every group, is to build a legacy, to make things better than it was before. And the other thing is we have a great history and a great tradition. Former players, former coaches, especially Riley Wallace left me a voicemail last night. I didn't hear the call, but his message was, get a good night's sleep. It was about 1 or 2 in the morning when I heard it, but I went right to bed. Yes, coach, you're the boss. Follow your lead. Remember, there's so many people. This is 95 years of our program's history, basketball program. I know 40 years or so about conference play, but so many people have put so much work and sacrifice to get us to this point. And our job's to honor it every day with our performance and the success on the floor and the manner in which they're succeeding. Hard work, team, sacrifice, fighting through adversity. So I know there are a lot of people in Hawaii going nuts right now. And obviously there's former players, former coaches who've done a lot of work to get us here. And we're really proud to honor them.
Do we have any more questions for student athletes?
Yeah, hey Quincy. Does Sheriff, does he always interact with the crowd that much? And what do you think of his celebrations today?
Yeah, he always does. He's, the team clown, but, he brings a lot of energy. And, he does things on the court that might not show up in the stat sheet, but really help the team. Like, he took 3 big charges today, which, they don't show up in the stat sheet, but they really help our defense, and, it pumps the whole team up.
Brian McInnes, Honolulu Star Advertiser. Q, when Jenks was on the bench for that long stretch, what was it like for you guards just, trying to shoulder more of the scoring load at that point?
It probably just made us, be a little bit more aggressive. We knew he was going to come back in eventually. It was really my fault he got that 4th foul, but so I tried to make it up to him by getting a couple buckets for him.
Very proud of his accountability there.
Q gets mad at me a lot because he doesn't think I pass on the ball, but
they're actually tight. This is not a good representative.
No, this is. I was joking.
Quincy, you got off to a little rough start. A couple of travel calls, a couple of foul calls, but you end up with 18 points. Do you think those first early minutes was just a matter of settling in? You guys got down by 4 or 5, but after that, you took the lead for good.
Well, I mean, that's just how the game goes, It's a game of runs and, momentum. I started off a little bit slow, and then I got a couple easy, shots and layups, and it kind of got me going. And then the big guys, they would set really good screens for me. And I was just getting into the paint, getting really easy shots, so I was able to make them.
Yeah, this is a question for both student athletes. I'm sure you guys have been watching March Madness your whole life, and you've been cheering for the Cinderella team. And what's that like to be on this stage and to be that team that just busted everyone's bracket?
Stefan?
Well, I think Obama's bracket is still intact. I think he picked our. I mean, for the next round, it won't be because I think we're gonna be that upset city. But it's great. I remember a couple of years back watching Florida Gulf Coast and Dunk City, and it's just the whole world watches. The whole world kind of stops for these 3-4 weeks or however long it is, and just to be part of that is really special.
Quincy?
Well, I mean, in my bracket, I had us winning, so like all my friends and family, they had us winning too. So I don't know about everybody else.
More questions for student athletes? All right, we'll let these two go and return to Coach in just a moment. Thank you, guys. All right, questions for Coach Ganot?
Coach, it was a little nerve-wracking there in the second half. They went on an 8-0 run, drew within 2. You guys called a timeout. What was the message that you said to the guys to get them rejuvenated? Because it seemed like they came out with more energy, and then they bumped the lead back up to 10, and then obviously ended up winning the game. So.
Well, in the moment, I sometimes you write on your whiteboard X's and O's or something, but in that moment, I just wrote one thing. I just wrote solid. We got to be solid. It's got us to this point. We were fighting kind of our temptations from the past in terms of gambling a little bit, and not being strong with the ball. That led to some of it. They got transition baskets. We turned it over twice. We took some questionable shots. And you can't do that at this level at this time. And any good team, which Cal is, will exploit you. So really proud of how we handled that, because obviously the momentum had shifted. And it wasn't a magic formula. It was let's get back to playing solid. We were tough to score in the half court. We can't defend turnovers very well, or bad shots, which are just as bad as turnovers. So I thought after that we settled down. And I was really proud of our offensive execution for the most part in the game against one of the best defensive teams in the country. Our whole deal was to try to break them down, because you're not going to get the initial looks all the time. But we have to make them work. And before you know it, hopefully some gaps will open up for us, and they did. And guys moved the ball, and we played inside out. And so that's how you get to this point.
Coach, how big was the crowd for you guys in the second half, and was that as big of a representation of Hawaii fans as you thought you'd get this far away from home?
Well, now being around it, I've been at Hawaii before. It's a special fan base, special people there, and we got it pretty good. Hawaii's as good as it gets, and don't forget they're traveling a long ways. And we saw it at the Honda Center. We've seen it on the road during our road games this year. This group rallies around their teams, and certainly with this team this year, with adversity that we've been through. And not surprised. Whoever will come will give every ounce of energy they have to make it loud, and somehow they found a way to get the rest of the crowd who weren't Hawaii fans or from Hawaii on the side, because I know they're all yelling, "Let's go Bows." And our guys are pretty self-motivated, but if they ever need an extra jolt, they had it, and they've had it recently, and that's been huge.
Coach, I know you guys haven't been home in what probably feels like about a month. Can you kind of describe the last 2 to 3 weeks of this postseason and how you guys have been able to string together some new wins, playing some new games on the road, and not having a chance to go back home in between?
Well, we're looking at week 3 on the road. So I guess in a weird way, we have road experience, both traveling and on the road. This group, to do well, you have to perform on the road. You can't avoid it. And I think we're now 11-2 at neutral sites or on the road, which is pretty special for any team, obviously for Hawaii. And, we found a way to balance. Our deal is to always have a routine. We take comfort in the routine. The guys know the routine. It's been a little unique the last now 3 weeks because we've been on the road, but we found a way to get off our feet on game days and move around in between and have team activities, team meals. Our families travel well with us, my families, our coaches' families, the players' families. So we found a balance between, I think this is the most important thing, and this team has done it all year. You have to find a balance between enjoying the journey and enjoying these moments and continuing to get better. It's a hard balance to find, and but you need to find it, because if you're not happy, you're not going to be good. And if you're not working, you're not going to get better. And these guys have found a way to find the right balance.
Coach, you guys have dealt with some adversity this year. You understand dealing with adversity a little bit. Cal's dealing with adversity right now, and Cuonzo was very gracious in giving all the credit to your team for the victory today. How difficult can it be, though, to get a team focused and ready to go when you are dealing with some problems?
I'm sure he'll tell you, and all coaches will tell you, people think it's just the X's and O's and recruiting and all that. Obviously, that's important. But the first thing we talk about every day when we meet, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, is talk about our team, our players, their psyches, how they feeling, how's their state of mind. So you got to get ahead of all those things. We always say this group's obviously our group, and Cal's dealing with some distraction, adversity. I heard him; he said it right. I mean, everybody's dealing with some of it, and it's going to keep coming. But the reality is you get ahead of it, you address it, you do the best you can, and you move forward. And a lot of teams in this tournament have had to deal with that during the course of the season as well. Both teams in this game are not the only ones going through some of that. But I know the coaches, our job is the student athletes and to take care of them and make sure they're in a good place. And that's the first thing we talk about and the last thing we talk about every night.
Quincy kind of took over a little bit of the scoring there kind of midway through the second half. Is that something that you need to say to him, or did he just kind of naturally do that within the flow of the game?
No, I think we talked earlier before this game about breaking down their defense. We obviously play off ball screens a lot, and I think there was that moment when Jenks was out that we looked more to our guards. The reality is we're at our best also when we're aggressive. We're not very good when we're on our heels. We want to push and attack, and if it's not there, we want to execute in transition. But at times, you got to trust your guys, and we have a senior backcourt who's tough and has great belief, and sometimes it's okay not to set up a play and let them play and make decisions. And that's actually allowed them. I always say this: our style of play is offensively is to share the ball, move the ball, play inside out. But it's a lot of guys get better with player development, individual work. But I think our style of play allows you to get better too. It puts them in so many reps of ball screens and making decisions that, at this point in the year, they have some pretty good confidence.
Coach Jeff Portnoy, ESPN 1420. Following up on Quincy.
Hi, Jeff.
I'm sure you remember it wasn't that long ago this season when teams were intentionally fouling Quincy Smith with 5 minutes to go in the game to send him to the line. Today he's perfect till the last free throw. What do you attribute that to?
Two things. You got to have both. He's got great belief. I said it earlier. Our guys have great belief, so does he, and he has got a great go-to. When you talk about Quincy Smith, you talk about his work ethic. And you gain confidence from reps because you believe you deserve it, because you put in the work and sacrifice, and sometimes you just need some breakthroughs. And I think early on he was struggling. But if you're around him every day, and being around him right off the bat during the season when I got the job, seeing his work ethic. Obviously, this is a guy who didn't play, came off the bench, played a reserve role. It became pretty clear that he was a guy we needed on the floor. He was a big part of our identity, his toughness, his grit. And I think he started to have some breakthroughs on the free throw line. And he started to hit some big threes. And now the combination of the confidence coming with the reps and sacrifice he's put in created, the improved player he is today.
More questions for Coach?
Coach, at halftime you had 5 players with 2 fouls each, and not just starters. Sai had 2 fouls as well. So, like you said, it must have been quite a balancing act in the second half. What did you do or plan at halftime as far as managing the fouls? And like you said, you wanted them to stay aggressive, but at the same time, stay out of foul trouble.
Well, a couple things there. We were very fortunate. We were pleased the way we managed the end of the first half to get into the second half with nobody getting 3. It's hard to do when 5 of them have 2. And unfortunately, fortunately now, but unfortunately we're very experienced in playing through foul trouble and guys with foul issues. Hopefully there's going to be a game where we can be a little bit more disciplined there. But credit Cal, and I want to say that, credit Cal for fighting back like they did and putting us at the line, or putting themselves at the line. They attacked the rim very well. But I think the second half we wanted to monitor it. We still picked up those fouls. And look, we trust our depth. Our guys have a lot of trust in one another. And as you saw, guys who've seen us play a lot, it's no surprise, we haven't shown much zone. And a lot of that was to protect our guys. We actually worked on it going in because we knew we may need it. We had it earlier in the season. And other than the 3 Matthews got laid, I thought we did a pretty good job on it.
It might have been mentioned earlier, but how long do you guys celebrate this win? Is it right back to work, or are you going to go watch the Georgia or the Dakota State and Maryland game, or you guys let them? I know emotions are running high. This is the first win in school history, so. Is there any time to celebrate, I guess, or is it just right back to work for you guys?
No, it's always about enjoying the moment. Like I said, having a great balance, continuing to fight and get better and get back to our routine. Our routine served us well, and, you got to enjoy this moment. We don't know our opponent yet, but their job is to take care of their bodies and get ready to go. Our coaches' jobs are we're not going to sleep much. They need to get rest. We won't. That's all right.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.